Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. This is the beginning of the new month, so I decided I'd like to do a video all about how a real witch plans and executes their spells and rituals for the coming year, for New Year manifestations and intention setting and goals. If you're new here and don't know about my channel, my name is Rhiannon and I am a witch and practicing Celtic Pagan, and I talk about all things magical, mystical, and mysterious on this channel, all things spiritual related, witchcraft, occult based, and all of that fun, juicy stuff. So if you vibe with that kind of energy, definitely subscribe to the channel down below and comment what your practice is, if you're practicing witch or pagan, or any questions that you would like to ask me about my practice, or how to start a practice, or basically just anything you like. Just say hey down below and I can welcome you to the family that way. That way I know you're here. And I love talking to you guys. So definitely leave a comment down below how your New Year's was, what you did, all that kind of stuff. And I'd love to get to know you down below. So how do I start planning my spells and rituals? It seems like an overly simplistic question, but also it's very shrouded in a lot of mystery because everyone's very different and everyone is going to do this very different. For myself, this process actually begins in autumn, in October, when we are approaching and are near around Samhain. So the first thing that I do is actually divination. This is when I sit down and I do my year ahead spread with my tarot deck, and I sit down and I journal all about all the messages I might be getting or the vibes I might be getting and kind of feel out where that might be fitting into what I want to do for the coming year, what I want to bring into my life. So you can do this year ahead spread whenever you'd like throughout the year. You can start from the point you're at. However, I like to do mine in and around Samhain just because that is when I view the witch's new year to be, and for myself, that is the new year for myself. So I kind of go off of that, but you can use the calendar new year, or you can choose a point in time like your birthday, whatever you'd like. Once I've done my divination and I've kind of journaled my views and what I'm seeing for myself in the future, I will then sit down and have a reflection period. I really want to sit down and look at what are my mundane goals along with my metaphysical goals and my spiritual goals, and what can I do to bring those into fruition. So at this point, I might meditate on a specific theme in my life, in my spirituality, or in my physical life, or my financial life, whatever it might be. What is the road blockages for me and what can I do to remove them? And also, what type of things do I want to bring into my life in that area? For myself, I will share a few of mine with you. I have almost 9 or 10 of them for this year. I know it's a lofty goal. However, it's something that is super important to me, so I will break out my little notebook and read off some of them to you, just kind of give you guys some ideas. You don't have to do the same thing as me, of course. This needs to be very personal to you. So I got my little notebook here. So number 1 is to create a daily gratitude practice. This is something I used to do all the time when I was living at home with my family, to instill in myself things that I was grateful for. Even though I was going through a really hard time back then, it was just something to refocus, even if it was just the way the light hit the wall in a certain way, or the way it bounced off my hand there. That is something to appreciate. That is something that's very beautiful. I have a beautiful window I can look out of while I'm filming videos for you guys or for myself, and it lets in a lot of light, and that's something I very much enjoy. So this is something I'm going to be starting to do for myself, where I write down at least 3 things a day and speak them aloud to what I am grateful for. Number 2 is something that I don't know why I ever stopped, but is meditation. And this is something that I actually even instill quite a lot when I'm talking on YouTube about witchcraft basics, about how important it really is to have a firm meditation practice. And this is something that I fall off of all the time. I am not perfect by any means, and I forget or I'm just too tired and I make excuses just like everybody else. And this is something that I want to reinvigorate into myself, that I am going to meditate every single day for an entire year, and then kind of do a video about it at the end of the year where I tell you guys my results and how I feel about it and everything, and just kind of have a record about where I was in the beginning and where I am now. So that's really exciting for myself, and I'm able to hold myself accountable for that because it's a planned video and it's something that has to happen, and it's also something that makes me really feel good. Number 3 was to work out 3 to 4 times a week. This is something that I really want to instill in myself because even with the lockdowns and everything, even before that, I was not in a healthy weight range for my body and for how I want to feel in life. And this is something that I just really want to focus on and bring into my life, that I can really take control of things and give myself that space that I give to everybody else every single day of the year. This is something that I want to be able to do, to show up for myself like I do every single other person in the planet. Every day of the year, if you think about it, you show up for other people. You show up for your friends, you show up for your family, you show up for your coworkers and your job. And most of the time, the last person on that list, and usually the most neglected person, is yourself and your spiritual practice, your dreams and ambitions, your goals. Everything like that is always going to be pushed aside to the wayside. And that's something that I am firmly stepping into, that I am going to eradicate this year and show up for myself every single day for the next entire year and see really what manifests through that. What can really come to fruition for me if I do that for myself, when I show up for somebody else every single day of the year and I forget me. I already know what that looks like. I know what that feels like, and that is something I'm not ready to accept as reality for myself anymore. So I decided to show up for myself every single day of the year, and that looks like me working out 3 to 4 days a week, doing a daily meditation practice and a daily yoga practice as well, along a few many other things that are on my goals here. And I'm really excited about it, and I definitely encourage you guys to do the same thing and really see what you can do for yourself within a year's time, because a year is a long time, and it's something that you can really grow and flourish with if you really set your mind to. The next one I mentioned in the little tangent I had before is actually a daily yoga practice along with my meditation. So I'm just going to start off with like 10 minutes a day of meditation and yoga and grow from there and see what I can do with that and see how much stronger I can be in those areas. And I'm really excited to see how much I can grow with that. Number 5 is go fully vegan. I have down here vegetarian because I feel like that's the realistic goal that I can accomplish this year. However, in the end, my overall goal within the next year or 2 years is to be fully vegan. This is something my partner and I have decided to start doing for ourselves. We're not able to process meat the way that we used to anymore, and it just doesn't feel right for our body. This is just something that feels right for us right now. I feel better, I feel more fueled and energized and nourished when I don't eat meat and I don't eat a lot of processed food, and I prepare my own food. And this is something that I've wanted to do for many years. I actually tried going vegetarian when I was a child living in my family home, and that was really hard because it was a very, very much a meat and potatoes household, and if you didn't eat your meat and all of that, you really didn't get much nutrients at all. There was a lot of boiled potatoes and overly cooked vegetables that really had no nutritional value anymore. And while they were delicious meals, they weren't something that made me feel good. I always felt tired and sometimes even sick afterwards. I couldn't eat for many hours after having a main meal because it just didn't feel good. So this is something I'm really excited about, and I'm excited to like document my process with that a little bit and see how that goes for me there. The next one is to post a YouTube video every week for the next year and not miss a week. And that's at minimum. If I can do one video a week for the next year, I really feel like my community on here with you guys is going to be able to flourish and grow. And this is something that I've been wanting to do and I've been really struggling with for a long time, to be consistent with working a full-time job and having a family and other obligations. And then while I'm not working on YouTube, being obsessed about thinking about content for YouTube. And while I'm not thinking about YouTube, then also thinking about my personal practice, which also entails witchcraft and paganism and spirituality. And with all of that, it was a really hard struggle mentally to be able to push out content on a regular basis, but also enjoy what I was doing and enjoy my personal practice, and then not feel guilty about being too overburdened and tired about work. Then on top of it, going through the pandemic and then still currently going through it and just not really being fully mentally there, and needing to deal with mental blockages and mental health issues and stuff like that. It was just really hard. So I'm batch filming a bunch of videos and I'm pre-planning ahead of time so that I don't have to rush. When I have a busy week at work, I can sit down and know that I'm going to be able to publish a video and not miss a video for you guys, and still be able to build that community with you and talk about the things that I love and still enjoy it as a hobby, and then be able to put that down throughout the week and be able to sit there and enjoy my days off without having to have a part-time job of creating content. So that's really exciting. The next one is driving and getting my full license. Launching my own website, and it's actually going to be a relaunch. It's been down for over a year, and I want to be able to come out with my own physical products again and bring that to you guys and really do it properly this time. I rushed around before, spent a lot of money in between trying to create YouTube videos for you guys. I also spent a lot of money and time trying to cultivate a Wix website that was just no bueno. It didn't work very well, and I didn't even have a whole lot of followers at that time. I'm still under 1,000 right now, so even if I launched it at this very moment and it was perfect, I don't think a lot of sales would happen anyways, because I'm still trying to cultivate that community. So we'll see how that one goes, but hopefully by the end of the year I can launch that website and provide you guys with holistic, handmade, and holistically sourced witchcraft products and supplies. And then the last one is launch my weekly podcast. Now we'll see how this goes and how well my batching goes, but I do have a podcast that I have started getting the names to and everything, and I started recording some of the episodes, and this is something that I'm going to have to batch out again, and I think I'm going to do seasonally so that I don't burn out from myself, and have to do a new video plus a new podcast every week. I think a few really awesome podcasts each seasonally would be perfect, 5 to 10 audio recordings for you guys would be awesome, and I will have that available on my Patreon pretty soon, so I'm really excited about that. Once I have all that figured out, I sit down and figure out when are all the solar events going to happen in my area, when is the new moon, when is the full moon, when are all of the solar eclipses and lunar eclipses, and do I want to do a working for each of those or any of them at all. Then at that point, once I've gotten all of those basic things down, I sit down and I come up with a yearly word for myself. And now this is just something for my overall manifestation that I actually got from the Shadow Harvest channel. Sam came up with this as far as I know. That is at least where I heard it from, and I haven't heard it from anyone else since so far. She chooses a word for herself each year to help guide her through her manifestations, help guide her through her year so that she can stay focused on what's the most important focus for her. For me, this year is actually a little small phrase, which is slow living. And this is something is super important to me because, like I said, the last year has been like a hustle to try to keep all of these things that I want combined. My work life, my family life, my online ambitions, and community building, and my own personal business wanting to be built, all within the time period of just my days off, and then literally having no time for myself at all. Like, I didn't have time for a spiritual practice. I didn't have time just to even sit in quiet and suffer when I'm having a migraine attack, which is probably like stemmed from being stressed all the time and not sitting down and taking time for myself. So that is really fun. So once I've gotten that word or phrase for the year, I'm able to better hone in and focus on what is going to come next. And it really helps to refocus me throughout the year and really see, am I lining up to this slow living phrase? Am I lining up to the overall arching feel of what I want to bring about for this year? Now, normally I would focus on some type of deity or archetype to work with or work towards and learn from, or I'd work on working alongside a specific element. Last 2 years ago, I worked through the elements for 5 months, including earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. And that was a really great growing period for me. But this year, I decided for the first few months of the year, I'm going to start working through the chakras from the base up all the way into when Aries season starts, which I think is March, mid-March. And then I'll continue on with the rest of the chakras. On top of that, I will be also doing the zodiacs for the first time, starting from the first zodiac to the end zodiac into the better part of next year. So I'm really excited for that because I've never worked with the zodiac before, and I've also never worked with the chakras fully. I've individually worked with them where I feel like they needed to be worked on and healed, but I've never worked through the zodiac from the base to the crown chakra and been able to like really try to like bring up that energy all the way through my crown. So that's something I'm really excited about doing. So a lot of my work is going to circle around a lot of meditation and breath work, as well as inner child, like shadow work, healing, quite a bit for the majority of the year. But I'm also going to be honing in on the archetypes of the zodiac, which is going to be really interesting to see how those things intertwine. It's going to be a lot, but I think it'll be really fun. And my one friend's advice was to work on the zodiac for the entire month. However, I feel like working within their seasons work better for me, within their time periods. So even if it's just that 2-week period of the zodiac or whatever it is, within that time frame, I think I should be working within that. And then as it transfers into another sign, I should work into that energy as well, because that's what's happening energetically. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So if you choose to work like I do, you can choose an archetype or an element or an energy. I've worked with seasons before. I've worked with land spirits before as well. So you can kind of just like choose what your main focus is going to be on and work around that for your spells and rituals. For one of my first rituals, for example, is going to be the root chakra. So the root chakra is dealing with the foundation, survival, security, grounding, healthy eating, and vitality. So for me and my goals, I've already written down kind of like what I want to achieve within that sphere of things. And for me, when I did my reflection, what was coming up was vitality a lot and healthy eating, and feeling grounded and secure. So those areas of focus, I'm going to be working on my shadow work for feeling grounded and secure and working through those traumas or blockages that might be in my way. I'm also going to be focusing on healthy eating by changing my diet and becoming more of a vegetarian-based eater, hopefully going more into veganism if I can, because this is just what works for me. That doesn't have to be your main focus. If you want to focus on healthy eating and feeling better in a healthier way, you can just do what works for you, whatever that might look like. For me, it's becoming more vegetarian and preparing my own food. Feeling more grounding and secure. For me, a lot of that comes up actually comes from feeling financially stable and feeling like that I can provide for myself and my family and loved ones and not feel like the rug is going to be pulled out from underneath me, if that makes any sense. This came up a lot for me in the last 2 years where things were being shut down quite often. I was not able to feel like I was in a place where even if we were shut down for a year or a few months, I would be okay with that or able to function in a good way for my family financially. So for me, starting a savings nest is super important to build that financial stability that I didn't have before. I never had like an emergency savings nest. So that is something that I'm going to be doing, is dedicating to my spiritual practice so that I have no excuses and I'm less inclined to like skip doing this, but I'm going to auto debit so much money into my actual savings account for emergencies every paycheck. So much of it's going to go in there. And then eventually it's going to start to compound. And then as I have more free money, I'm going to allocate that accordingly. And I feel like with that and then working alongside the energy of money is going to really help heal that for me. I also got a little money tree back here, and that's going to be part of my money altar. I'm going to be creating a money bowl, which I'm going to be feeding and putting positive affirmations in and feeding regularly with offerings and bits of money as I collect it, and really start cultivating that healthy relationship with money again. February for me is going to be more of the sacral chakra. So for me, the thing that's coming up the most is creativity and true joy. Like being able to like have pure joy in my life instead of living in the past or living in the future, which a lot of times I was always living in the future last year. So being able to live in the moment. So that's going to cultivate a lot of breath work and connection with my partner and grounding with the earth, and like really just being able to feel into myself and checking in with myself, and a lot of breath work with that one. So, and it'll kind of go on like that. The next thing that I do once I've decided on my overall theme for each month and each full moon's ritual is going to be allocate my correspondences and my herbs and supplies for each spell work. This is something that I started doing over the last 2 years, which is so much easier for me, is have an idea of what I want to do and then get those supplies together beforehand so that I do not have to scramble around the month of or a couple weeks before and then pull it all together from all different parts of my house the week of or the day of, and then try to do the spell then. I was able to do a lot more in the last little bit by collecting my ritual tools and supplies and kind of allocating them into small little ritual kits for myself. And then as I'm ready to do my ritual, I pull out that box and it's ready to go. And this is something that is so important for anyone who has any type of issues with not having enough spoons when it comes to anything in life, but especially in a spiritual practice. If you suffer with having enough spoons to even get up, brush your teeth, and go to work in the morning, and then be able to come home and then work on a spiritual practice, it just seems so daunting to you. Being able to prep these things and batch them ahead of time for when you're, say, even feeling like wanting to do a general love spell, having those supplies together in a little batch, little kit for yourself is so valuable, so that you can grab it when you're having that energy and be able to put the energy that you have from yourself into the spell itself, instead of having to tap into an energy source that just takes so much more energy for you to bring about for yourself. There's been days where I tried to film videos where halfway through doing my makeup, which is just really simple like this, where I've lost the energy and I don't even have the energy to take the makeup off. I don't have the motivation to do the video anymore. And then I get really depressed and low, and I'm not able to do much else. And I get kind of like an analysis paralysis with it. And if any of you guys suffer with that, it's super important to just batch things out for yourself like I do, and be able to grab it when you are ready to do any type of working. The next thing that I do is write a incantation that's small, that generally rhymes, and is easy to chant over and over again. This is something that I'm able to get into a pattern with. That's easy and simple, maybe 1 or 2, maybe maximum 3 lines, and I'm able to get into a pattern of it while I'm chanting, and I almost become hypnotized with it. And this is something that I do ahead of time, and I slide it into my spell book along with the scheduled like rundown of everything. I write down everything I'm going to do, kind of like a little bit of a schedule for the ritual, and I stick it in there with my spells and the overall herbs and everything, the details of the ritual day, the alignments of the stars, everything like that, and the supplies that I've used, and then my overall synopsis of how I feel like the spell went. It all goes into my spell book and is ready to go when I'm ready to do the spell. And that's basically how I do all of my spell work preparation. Now, of course, if there's something else that I want to do within that time period, I can take things and manipulate them and change them around. I can move things around, and I don't have to do the spell the way it's planned within that month. Or I can do more than just what I've planned. It's totally fine. But just being able to sit down and have the core of the year planned out, the major event spell work that I really want to focus on myself with, and then have that booked off from work. Just what I do is I literally just book off the days that I want to have my ritual, and then I clear with my family. I'm like, hey, the day and the night is mine on this day. I need it quiet. Go do something else. Like, hey, go do something else that day. Be out of the house. I need the quiet to get into a trance-like state. I need to be able to make strange sounds while I'm meditating or getting into trance work. All of that kind of thing. So I have that time that I don't need to worry about, like, hey, there are people downstairs, like my family members, my partner, are hearing me do these weird things, and I'm less likely to get into my head about things, and I'm able to really just focus on what I need to do to heal myself. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is something that I wanted to do for a very long time, and I'm really excited for the next few videos coming up. I have so much planned for the next year. And the next few videos are actually really, really exciting. The next one that I have planned to be posted is... This one's really cool. Okay, so I had this amazing idea because I love music, and I use a lot of artists that I love and their music as almost like a spell in itself. I've said this before in different videos, but I use I Am the Fire by Hailstorm as an invocation for myself to really step into that fire energy and to really step into the energy of I own my shit, I got this, I don't need anyone else, I am what I need to deliver myself into what I want and to bring about the change in my life. I need anyone to rescue me kind of energy. And this is a really cool idea. So my next video is actually high vibe music, song, spiritual path, and to the awakening, and basically just really great songs and playlists that are amazing for doing ritual work, are good for the Sabbats and the seasons. They are great for just general abundance and manifestation. And this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. So I've created a bunch of playlists, and I will have them linked down below when I have that video posted next week. So make sure if this video is in the future and that date is already passed, that you check down in the description box below of this video and the video about spiritual high vibe music, and check that out so that you can subscribe to my playlists. I think it'd be really fun. And then you guys can share your playlist that you make for your spiritual craft, and I think it'll be a really fun vibe. So let me know what you think about that idea. If you like that idea or you completely hate it, I need to know so that I can make the changes in the future. And then the next one after that is going to be my first video in the Wheel of the Year, and this one's going to be all about Imbolc. So normally you would start on Yule as the first Sabbath, but I want to start on Imbolc because that's what's coming up next, and I'm going to be doing a vlog for that, and that will be coming up in next month, one of the first videos for next month. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoy your day, and I will see you when we can get vibing on some spiritual music and shit. If you guys enjoyed this video but are not yet subscribed, make sure you subscribe down below, as well as hit the like button and share this video to any of your spiritual badass friends and family members who want to be able to live a high vibe life and be able to also dwell in their darkness and their shadow and be able to embrace that. This channel is all about embracing your inner bad bitch and your inner goddess, as well as your inner darkness, and not straying away from those things and hiding them. So please share that to everyone that you feel like would enjoy it, and I will see you guys in the next video when we talk about high vibe music. The best music that I enjoy when I am in ritual work, or if I'm in a meditation, or if I am getting into the vibes for spell casting, all of that good stuff. I'll see you guys in the next video. Much love. Bye!